And we are live. So, the Predator Thoughts film, and I guess I did I? Let me just briefly see. Yeah. Okay, so briefly, I'm going to be spoiling. I'm not for sure going to be spoiling, but I might be spoiling every movie that involves predators up to and including this one. And there is, I put time codes in the description box in case the video's too long for you. I'm going to try not to repeat myself. And with that all said, we can dive in with notes taken while watching. There we go. Now, I might swear in this video since they do in the movie. There we go. And it can feel kind of weird to quote a line with swearing without swearing when you're quoting it. Let's see. But yeah, with all that out of the way, here are the notes I took while watching the movie. I like first we just see kind of space. And, we have seen movies like this that start, the Predator, The Thing, space, and in this one you don't see Earth right away, but in those you do. And just, at first you don't know exactly what's going to happen, and then you have these two ships, one ship shooting at another and chasing it, and then the ship at the front opens up a wormhole and then jumps through it, and then we see Earth, and then later when we see the bigger ship also go through a wormhole and reach Earth. I guess it was something like they had to detect where it went to, and since it was a wormhole, there's a lot to scan. Maybe it was going through wormholes, and just if you've got a wormhole here, just sticking it in. Are you in here? Corville. And yes. And we set up, Quinn Holbrook as the sniper, and they're waiting for this cartel ring of hostages, and his teammates are betting on whether or not they'll show up. He's like, you know what? Yes, count me in. Boyd manages to. I'm gonna be calling them by the character name and the actor's name interchangeably because I'm not always good with character names. Boyd manages to regain his composure well enough to fire a very accurate sniper shot real quickly after seeing a spaceship. I don't know, I guess maybe he just thought, well, I mean, that's not a spaceship, that's just, I don't know, I guess just a plane, and he thinks it looks a little weird, but that's it. And, you've got the Predator hanging this guy, and then Boyd accidentally shoots him in half. And he picks up the Predator equipment and sends some of it. And, he accidentally hits the Predator with the wrist stuff. And that's the entire fight between him and the Predator. They don't come directly face to face until, I don't know, an hour later or something. That's just pure Shane Black. You really expect there to be, a fight. The climax of the first movie or something between these two, and it's just, and it's not as though there's not enough action in this movie. And you have some of the voice imitation. Some of these notes are a little bit out of order. And, the wrist thing just keeps spitting out useful stuff at the exact right time. And, I like how, in addition to being useful, it's also, they do some cute jokes with it. I don't know if I noted this anywhere. Some people say that the movie goes for being too funny, and thus we can't take it seriously. I completely disagree. I always felt a sense of danger and threat from one or both of the predators, and often it would actually deliver. Suddenly, the ultimate predator is in, Quinn's ex's home. Suddenly, just when the ultimate predator shows up there at the end, and they're trying to, get into the spaceship, and it just communicates with them. I by that point gotten so used to the predator always attacking, because that's what the non-ultimate predator in this does a lot. Does that make it the penultimate predator? But then you have the ultimate predator, just like, so I've been watching you guys for a while, dude, the third from the right, your form is pretty good, but you need to hit the weights a little harder. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get more into why one of those predators is not like the other. And the signs get the music from the first movie, and when you see the helicopter, I love the sign that says "Welcome Parents" and STDs. That is not a good way to shorten that, and it is this sort of thing. They only have so much. Everybody's seen one of those where they have to shorten something, and I really appreciate that wasn't given away, because in the trailers, I'm almost willing to bet money on this. In the trailers, they had it, changed to just saying students, but in the movie it is STDs, and it's not like there's no R-rated stuff in the trailers. It's got blood and swearing and such. And right, this is what I feel like maybe the first predator in the movie is not that stealthy and selective in who he kills. To be fair, he doesn't have the invisibility thing, Quinn got down. But that predator is on a mission. He's desperate to get the predator killer to the human beings. He's which I think is like a reshoot or something. He has a mission anyway, and meanwhile the ultimate predator behaves a lot like the predator in the first movie. And if there had been only one predator for the whole movie, then there would not have been enough, wait, 1 second. If that had been the only predator for the whole movie, then there would not have been enough action scenes or ones big enough for today's tastes. If the ultimate predator, if the one being stealthy so much of the time. And I watched the midnight screenings. I watched the projector film range review of it, and I don't agree with. I think a bunch of what film range says is essentially right. I just don't think it's as bad as he thinks it is. But anyway, he says that there didn't need to be two predators. It could have been one predator. And largely I do agree with that. But I think maybe the reason there are two is so that they could have that. Because it really is fairly consistent. The ultimate predator will look directly at you and walk away. He's not going to attack you if you're not part of his mission, if you're not his target. And I mean, you could say that, well, the first one, it wouldn't just walk away, it would be waiting for later. But then at the end of the movie, it's done what it was there to do, and now it's hunting them more. And I just also, I think if there hadn't been an ultimate predator in this movie, if the only predator had been doing action stuff constantly every time we saw it, I don't think it would have been. I think I would have left the movie theater feeling like it could have been a little closer to the first one. But I don't want them to just make the first one again. That's one of the problems with Predators, the third movie. But I think I think they made a wise decision there, and I really like that the movie outright shows the viewer the ultimate predator could easily get these guys, but he's not interested in them, at least not right now. Let's see. and we meet Rory, and the fire alarm is going off because of the two assholes, and the where everybody else is like running out, thinking there's a fire. To him, the noise bothers him, so that's a good, we get a sense of the in the midnight screens they point out he's in a regular school, so I guess he's a high functioning autist, but yeah, that is a little weird, that but anyway, yeah, so we see immediately he's an autist, and the movie doesn't, and as they point out in the midnight screenings, it's movie autism, it's basically magic, and yeah, but the instead of just having a character say, that's Rory, he's an autist, he's autistic, yeah, have that, and we see he memorized all the chessboards, he put all back together. And the teacher actually left the room without checking to make sure he got Rory with him. It's not like, well, they were just there. It was basically recess, but they stayed in class. No. There was definitely an adult leaving the room. There was a teacher there, and he did not check to make sure that Rory, it's not like Rory was invisible, not at that point. He kills people so you can be a mailman. I can see the tracks on the floor. I don't see tracks on the floor, just for the record. What's your name? Nebraska. Is that your real name? Gaylord. Good choice. I thought so. And the whole thing, I put a bullet in my CO. Any reason? He was an asshole. And then later we find out it was his own. And I mean, I guess you could reason, he's his own boss. He had a high enough rank to say, CO. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, that's he's referring to himself in the third person, but that's a number of the people who commit suicide or try, it's because often it's self-hatred. And yeah, he says, he was an asshole. I am an asshole. And so, yeah. I'm almost certain I got this quote wrong, but I'm just going to... Are your eyes deceiving you? Is this room haunted? It's stretching. Every fucking time? That was really funny. But both... I mean, the thing with him, saying, oh, the room's stretching, was funny. But the other guy going like, every time, you do this every day. This is I can't. I'm going to file another complaint with HR over you. You're too much. And it is the kind of thing where, I mean, people who work in places like that, it's gotta be real hard not to make lame jokes like that. And yeah, some people probably make the same lame joke about it every day. And just, yeah. I put this here just so I wouldn't forget. This is easily my favorite of the ways the Predator dies in the climax of every movie that involves a Predator. They especially did not need for the fourth solo Predator movie to have it be hand-to-hand. It's in the first one, it's great. It's this thing of just two animals going, fighting directly and just using their strength to... One second. I have to adjust it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, putting their strength, speed, and agility to the test, And then in the second one, it's I like the twist that, Harrigan has the disc and knows how to use it. And it's one of those things where he kind of outsmarts the guy he's fighting. He, especially with that last fake out where he pretends like he's just defeated, he can't move anymore, and then he slices, And then in the third, the reason that Adrien Brody fights the Predator hand to hand like he does is because that's the way it went in the first. I do kind of like it. Now having watched the movie again, I do kind of like it. But it did not need to be the exact same. And here, it was so cool. It was so, the whole thing, them all firing all these bullets at it and trying to blow it up, setting it on fire, all of this cool stuff was just so much fun. And the action, when there are human beings trying to kill the Predator as it's trying to kill them in the woods there at the end, just that's basically what I wanted. I know they couldn't have done that in the first one. Maybe they shouldn't have made it so early. It's one of those things like... Anyway, and I realized that in the second one, it's not... that was just not what they wanted to do. And in that one, it has armor. You see bullets almost start kind of ricochet off its armor. Let's see. The third, by the time by the time they really can shoot, just they don't. But they also don't really hit very much the Predators in the. Anyway, that was exactly what. They don't just fire endlessly without being able to hit. And they don't... Yeah, it was exactly the way that I wanted the scene to go. That they try to shoot it, and if they can't hit it, they move on. Instead of just... Yeah. Now. But yeah, if it had been hand-to-hand this one, it would have been ridiculous. It would have been so... Just, yeah. Now, if you'll excuse me. I just have to make sure that this thing isn't going to suddenly decide to reboot like it almost did last time. Now, something I realized after watching, and again, just put it here, the Predator dogs approach Rory and then group to stop them from reaching him. Once you've watched the whole movie, the idea must be that the dogs would have chased him down, or possibly grab him by the arm and drag him away without chewing through or anything, to get him to the ultimate Predator. But when you first just see the scene, you think that they're going to maybe kill him or hurt him badly. And maybe just that the dogs are going for any human that they can find, and only near the end do you realize that the ultimate Predator wants Rory specifically. So basically, he gave it the scent of, if the Predators themselves have masks with vision modes, I'm sure their dogs can detect, more evolved beings or the like. And, due to the climate change, if there are sequels going by the logic of this movie, if there are sequels to this movie, there will be more Predators arriving on Earth because they think they need to get the DNA, or as the voice haven't gotten first, dinner, before we go extinct. And, when the Predators arrive, they will have to face the Predator Killer. I do think that the Predator Killer armor is cool looking. I'm not crazy about having such an obvious... They don't still have any Predator ship, do they? Because I think that would have been potentially kind of cool. This whole thing of... Did I mention that I might be spoiling Alien Solo movies as well? I think I might, yeah. the idea that the human character is just going to wait for the next predator, it's a little too passive for my taste. And that is something that I will at least say about Prometheus. The ending does say, next time the human beings are going to use a spacecraft, instead of just saying, well, I'm sure they'll be back here, or they will be back here in so and so long, something like that. I appreciate that there's that. I just think you need to, when it has to do with space traveling species, you have to be careful that it's not just, that's also the Alien movies. The first 4 of them all end with, okay, now we're going to, well, sorry, not 3, but the movies 1, 2, and 4 end with them on a ship approaching somewhere. Well, the 4th one, technically, they do land on Earth. But yeah, the next movie could have been set on Earth. Or they could have very quickly left or something. But movies 1, 2, and 4 of the Alien series, the ending suggests that next time it'll be on another planet, or it'll be on a spaceship with characters we haven't met yet, or something, and just here for it to just be, Quinn's gonna wear the Predator Killer suit, and they're just gonna sit around, twiddle their thumbs until more Predators show up. Now, back to, chronologically, you see the Predator on the table, breathing, very clearly not dead, not entirely knocked out either. Sounds like a bass fisherman more than Predator. I don't think the series would have been as popular if it had been called Bass Fisherman instead of Predator. Let's see, and we're told the Predator has human DNA, and I like how they kind of dance around the subject, and then Olivia Munn just goes, "You want to know if someone fucked an alien?" And we see the other spaceship arrive on, Earth. And Rory's interacting with the technology, learning Predator language. Keyes Jr. is nothing like Keyes Sr. I expect him to be much more aggressive, like maybe in Starship Troopers or something, but I didn't dislike it as such. And the Predator wakes up, starts killing people. Reminded me a lot of Alien vs. Predator 2, the video game. Did I mention that? I'm also going to be spoiling the games. And I'm not sure there's anything in the comics I'm going to be spoiling. Let's see. Yeah, Alien vs. Predator 2, the video game. You wake up, you've been experimented on, you get your equipment, and you start, killing the human beings who captured you. And the movie also uses human shield and didn't hurt Olivia, who I was a little surprised that there was no actual nudity since they had her undressed twice. But is the idea supposed to be that, did it care that she was naked? It didn't attack her because she didn't have a weapon, right? She says I was naked and didn't have a weapon and didn't attack me. Anyway. Let's see. We have a lot of short, quick scenes. Kind of reminded me of the second Resident Evil movie, Apocalypse. And the Predator reads Rory's name. Not my space animal. Now. I got you. Sorry. Get to the choppers. And the Predator ship fights a few military jets. I'm glad we get to see this. I've always wanted to see something like that in one of these movies or something. And Olivia accidentally knocks herself out. Very shame-like. And again, I realized that was out of order. Are you all okay back there? And the Predator, picks up this arm that's giving the thumbs up. Reaches it through, tricking him. It's been a long time since I had a gun in my hand. How does it feel? Like a gun. And and Rory's looking at the mask and giving background information, and we see DNA being injected. And Rory wears the mask for Halloween as any 11-year-old would who had the opportunity. I like how Nettles keeps eating pickles at Quinn's ex-wife. I'm sorry, I just don't... Yvonne's place. I don't remember her character name. Now, like I used to, I'm going to... I voice typed most of these, but it's just gonna read the rest of these for reasons I'm not gonna go into. And, you know, Quinn is like, I'm gonna find my boy. I don't really understand people who say that they couldn't, like, get behind, that they didn't feel like, you know, oh, who's there to, like, get behind. You really can't. How can you... I'm not judging. I'm just saying I don't really understand. This is literally like, you know, it's a parent saying, my child is vulnerable, he's out there, and there's something incredibly deadly that, you know, yeah, and it you know, it seems to be going after him. I have to save him. I don't really understand how you can. I guess, I don't know, maybe if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I feel like that's a really good, and it doesn't really feel like something that's been in. No, it hasn't been in the other Predator movies. You know. Let's see. I mean, you could say it's similar to the thing with Newt near the end of Aliens, but that's basically it. Other than that, and let's see. You know, the bullies show back up, and, you know, Rory, like, goes up, you know, trick or treat, and then he walks away, and this, you know, this douchebag who's living up there throws, I don't know, like a rock at the back of his neck or something, and the gun just immediately, you know, aims and just blows up part of the building, and just, yeah, that dude's dead. He is dead. And I mean, people who throw rocks shouldn't live in houses that can be blown up by predator weaponry, or at least they should be careful not to aim them at predator technology. I think that's something that we could all learn. That's something we should all live by. And, you know, the bullies are like, you know, and he does the psych out thing, and they run off, and that was funny. And yeah, and I think there are a lot of 11-year-olds who would like to have a predator, you know, shooting their bully. Technically, he's not morally culpable because he didn't know that it was going to happen. He didn't even, like, I mean, you know, he couldn't even, like, have warned the guy because he didn't know that he was there. Did he know that it fired automatically? I think that's the first time it fires automatically, too. I didn't note this anywhere, but in the trailers, they did literally make it look as though Rory, you know, playing with the thing was making the Predator ship crash and such. I figured that was going to be it, that was a trailer joke rather than actual plot, but I'm sorry, that would have been too far. That would have been too silly for me. And that's something, I guess, the people who didn't like the humor in this, I guess they did think it pushed it too far. I think it pushed it very far, but not too far. Like, the Alien vs. Predator movies, both of them, feel like the people making them don't have respect for the aliens and predators, and you can find yourself almost laughing at the two creatures when they used to be so terrifying. And yeah, those pushed it too far. I think, although they didn't mean to, I don't think. And I realize I think Paul W.S. Anderson at least thinks he does, you know, care about the Alien and Predator franchises and such. It's just that he doesn't know how to do them justice. Now, let's see. I quite like the, you know, killing the predator dog with a grenade launcher. And, you know, the other one just gets shot in the head and later shows up again, and it's been like, it's almost like it's been, you know, do they say, like, given a lobotomy? No, I think she said, I think Yvonne said that about Quinn before you give him a lobotomy, you know. But yeah, the dog's all docile and wants to play fetch, and it's so likes Casey, you know. It's so it's I, is it called a crush when it's a dog that's really into a particular human being? It just, you know, it's puppy love. Is that what's called? You know, I don't think it's called puppy love, but the yeah, just it's so bad. You know, it you know, grabs the thing that she wants to and runs up, and it's like, did I do good? I got the thing, here, play fetch, and just as I don't normally like stuff like that, but I loved it in this movie. I also wanted to note, in an interview, and they also put it on like the IMDb in the frequently asked questions. I think they also put it on Wikipedia and just listed it all from the, like, in the interview he didn't, I'm not sure he knew exactly what was going on. Anyway, Thomas Jane is like, oh, they're gonna fucking kill us. They're gonna drive around the corner and they're gonna kill every last one of us. Was that in the movie? I mean, did they actually say that? I don't know. I kind of got. I mean, they drove for hours. It was dark. You know, wasn't it fairly bright? It was such a long drive that Quinn fell asleep. Who wants to fall asleep while I don't mean to, you know, I don't mean to offend any people suffering from mental illness, but commonly people don't feel very comfortable around people with mental illness, and they're wary of letting their guard down around them. And it's not like Quinn is stupid or he isn't very alert. So it must have been some hours. Why didn't they just? Yeah, I anyway, the maybe it was like a rewrite, or maybe I just didn't pick up on it. Let's see. I like how Casey, she doesn't even hesitate. She just, you know, pushes. She puts herself between the Predator and Rory. I quite like that. And let's see. The ultimate Predator beats the regular Predator in about 2 minutes. The regular Predator kind of behaves like the Predator in Predator 2. You know, and then the ultimate one is the one from the first movie, and the Super Predators from the third movie. And the Predator, let's see. Right, the Ultimate Predator calls the Predator a traitor, and we get these subtitles for the language. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that, but overall I think I'm okay with it, and I certainly am. I prefer that to them, like, speaking some. It would have been really stupid for the Predator to start speaking English when not talking to human beings. I also appreciate that the Ultimate Predator didn't magically learn a bunch of human words. No, it was using a translator when it talked to them. I quite liked, you know, the let's see, Quinn calls his ex-wife, and, you know, she, you know, one of the guys gets up and, like, walks towards, and she does the like, you know, like she's going to pretend that everything's fine and help them track him or something. And, you know, she picks it up and she just, let's see, I think she just says, you know, keep him safe, don't come home, or something like that. And then she throws it. Was it the garbage disposal, or was it the sink, and then she sprays water on it? And at first I thought it was water, but then it kind of, the way it sounded and looked, it was almost like a garbage disposal. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't, you know, pick one. Let's see. I was surprised by the part where Casey says I think she said, a lot of experts say, which is just, that's how filmmakers and like journalists and such love to frame, not like there's this specific evidence, just a lot of people, it's what Trump always says, a lot of people say that I did a wonderful job, anyway. Casey says a lot of experts think that autism is not a disorder, but the next link in evolutionary. That's interesting, and I hope that it's a confidence boost for any young autism spectrum, not just young, but everyone. Just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if a lot of young people love this movie, and then like suddenly they look at the Asperger kid and it's like, wow, he's the one the predator wants. He's the one that the predator would, want a hybridization with, transmogrify with. Of course, there's some chance that they would just grind him up, sniff him, and hope that they would get the goods from that. New rule: nobody shoots my dog. I already said that, but I really love that she takes to it too. It's such a fun little, I think was Film Brain maybe one who didn't like it, something like that. I understand some people won't like it, but I really, really enjoyed it, and the whole thing with just, yeah, so the dog is like really wants to make her happy, and then she's like, this is a good dog. And we're told, the climate change thing, 2 generations, maybe only 1, which, I mean, based on some of the things we've heard, it does sound like it won't be very long, considering how little a lot of the world is doing to slow the process. Reversing it or stopping it is not really, there's not a lot we can do right now. But yeah, if the predators were really that concerned, maybe they could build some colonies on Mars or on the moon that some humans could then live in. I'm just saying, this is like how when people are like, why does Thanos want to wipe out half of everyone? Why can't he just make enough food for the rest of them? To which I ask, did you miss the part where he also said space? There's a limited amount, even if there are an unbelievably high number of habitable planets all around the universe. If a lot of different species continue to just grow in number, sooner or later, of course, they're going to use up all that space. And if you make more space and more food, then eventually that will be out. Killing half. I'm not saying it works, and I'm definitely not saying anybody should do it. But if you're trying to approach it from like, yeah, it's the thing that seems to make sense, and it's also, I mean, if the big climax was everyone wants to stop him and he, snaps his fingers, and then like a bunch of food appears and like Earth grows bigger and such, I'm sorry, that's just not as effective and just, Mr. Stork, I don't feel so good. Oh, is that a hot dog? It's just not the same thing. Let's see. And that is what it's building towards. I'm not saying that is in an Avengers movie already out, but if you watch the trailers, you know that that's the big threat. They have to stop Thanos from getting all the Infinity Gems and snapping his fingers. Now, I really hope that this does not come across as sexist, because I don't I'm not a sexist person. I'm not saying this because Olivia Munn's a woman. I'm saying it because, as far as what I've seen, she's not a particularly good actress. In this movie, she seemed more comfortable in scenes and more convincing in scenes where she was confused or not quite, than when she's like really confident and saying scientific-y things and such. When she's like sitting, she's been captured by the bad guys, and she's sitting there and they're saying things, and she's like, no, is that really just... That was by far the most convincing, when she was like saying, when she was going around being like, I'm a scientist who sciences stuff. It's just not that convincing. Let's see. I want one of those predator dogs. I mean, they've got from the entire universe, the entire galaxy. What? There's 250 billion planets in the galaxy. Why go the full universe? Let's see. I like them pilot a helicopter, and they put up an electric fence, and the predators are going to pay for it. They're going to be happy to pay for it. And we've got that one guy who gets fried on it. So this Ultimate Predator is basically, it had the DNA of all these, all the best, from all these different planets, and essentially compared to the other predators, it's just bigger and faster and it's stronger, I guess, as well. It's just, I don't know. I guess ultimately, I wouldn't have... It's actually funny because the My Cinema has this like little booklet that comes out every so often, and will have short descriptions of movies. In that, it outright says the predators are mutants. I'm not even sure that they thought... The guy who wrote that might have thought they used to be human beings, and they've just mutated so much. That's why they don't quite look human anymore. I don't think that's quite the idea. As far as I understand, they were never human. They're always from a different planet. It's just that they got some human DNA in them, or the one that they call a traitor got some human DNA in him, and I guess then decided that he was going to kill. Yeah, he did look in pain in that flashback bit, but anyway, don't you just love it when you just, exposition spews out of something? He wasn't even like, it's not like he clicked in and found a folder marked backstory. It just showed for him, so it displayed for him. Let's see. I think if there hadn't been anything about, this is the ultimate predator, but if we had been told the predator, as we've seen in these movies, has had this hybridization thing, it's already got all these different DNAs in it, rather than us seeing a new one and then being told, this is the ultimate one, because it's not that different from the regular ones. And I'm not saying I would want it to be, because not long after that it stops being a Predator movie, but I just feel like that's not... Yeah, and personally, I don't mind that it's, it's not like what we've been told before. This is the first of the, movies to suggest that they're interested in our DNA. But I think it basically works, and you need something. That's the thing. Movies 2 and 3 don't really add, the first one, the concept was new. There's nothing, by the end of the movie, that there are these predators that go to Earth when it's hot and there are a lot of people with guns that it would like to hunt. But then the second one, it doesn't actually say anything. The first one we're only told that it's in the jungle in this overall. I forget what part of the world we're in, but she says the people in the villages talk about how they'll come back. And in the second movie, we were told, oh yeah, he goes to other parts of the world, not only that jungle. That's it. That's the only expansion on it. There's literally no other major lore expansion in the entire second movie. And then the third is this, sometimes they'll put people on, they'll grab human beings and put them on these like game preserve planets, and there they'll hunt them. And it's just like, that's it. That's all you're gonna, and you've got the alien, the predator dogs, but that's it. And there's more than one type of predator, and some of them are, they got a blood feud going on. Just, is that really all that? Still doing the thing. I just, is that? Do you really think that that's enough? And then here we have this idea that the reason they've been going to all these other planets isn't just it's not just they like doing trophies, they enjoy hunting. No, they want the most, and that's also something they can build on, wanting DNA of different, maybe next time, if this does get a sequel, I don't think it's done very well, and not very many people like it, so it might not. Similar, Terminator Genesis was supposed to be the start of the trilogy, as was Terminator Salvation. I think there have been others that also didn't. I think Prometheus might have been meant to get an actual sequel rather than just the, what little we get in Covenant. Anyway, oh crap, what was I talking about? I was talking about how, if this does get a sequel, maybe one of the next ones, there's a predator that has DNA from this other species, and they can do some sort of interesting thing there, let's see, maybe next time, maybe they're not only interested in human DNA, maybe they go to like a really desolate part of Earth where there's like just a few animals left from this particular species, and the predators want the spinal fluid. And I think that, and then you have this thing of like these commandos who have to protect this animal whilst also keeping the animal from realizing they're there, because then it'll run away and they'll have to chase it down. Maybe it could even be an animal hostile to humans. And just I think there's something there, and the idea that this that one predator goes against some of the other predators, that's a cool idea. When the Predators, it has this DVD extra that's like a prologue motion comic, and it's basically just that the predator that's hanging up there, it lost a fight. It fought one, or at least one of the others, I forget if it's more than one, and it lost that fight, so they hanged it there. That's all. There's no other, which is also actually that kind of. No, wait, no, that still checks with how they're told, there's a blood feud. I quite like the thing where, the Krager, maybe, he's like, somebody tripped an alarm. And Rory's like, that's my dad. Really? He's got to be the dumbest son of a bitch. A ranger tripping alarms. And just as he's saying, like, that's such a stupid, that's a distraction. That's a distraction. A diversion. And, Rory tells the guy who gets killed, told you, I don't want anybody dead, but Dad, besides him, from now on, don't look at him. The loonies do really great stealth kills. I quite like that, before Quinn gives his son the round, invisibility thing, since he swallowed it, he pooped it out. So he like grabs it, spits on it, and then he hands it to him. That was pretty funny. Spit shine. I think there's a pretty good balance in this movie of seeing the Predator early and giving it a good amount of screen time without losing the coolness of having a Predator or it not feeling like a Predator movie. Yeah, I'm going to get more into it, but Predators really does not show the Predators enough, and from early enough on, again, the first one, it was brand new. Now, yeah, in this, a bunch of time passes with no Predator active, with no Predator out there doing, violent stuff, but we never actually, it's never too long. Now, let's see. The Predator uses the translator to give a message in English, and the Predator hacked the cars, hacked the electrical systems in the cars, and then you can't start the engine, as far as I understand, I'm not a car guy. I appreciate that they can do something with cars like this in a science fiction movie that isn't the really stupid, Terminator 3 thing of, she controls the cars with, because she hacked into them. Cars aren't electrical, they're mechanical. But if you fuck with the electrical, yeah, then it won't start. And the Predator chases the humans in the woods, and the good guys shoot at the Predator. And I already mentioned, but I really like that they don't spend forever shooting. Just they shoot and they maybe don't hit, and then they turn around and run further. Excuse me. Now, and they set a trap for the Predator, much like first three movies, but. And, we see how effective it is or isn't against the Predator. I know I may be in the minority, but I do care when these characters die. I want to see more of these characters. If this movie does just well enough for like a spin-off kind of thing, but not well enough for a proper sequel, I would like a spin-off with... Honestly, I would go and watch a spin-off movie for each of the Loonies, each and every one of them. Although, the two of them you maybe want to combine into one, since what was it? One of them shot the car that the other one was in, and eventually they stopped hating each other and became friends. That's the thing. I really feel like the movie, without hitting you over the head with it, just communicates, it's really, really hard being in the military. It is incredibly difficult to deal with life or death, and to have to kill certain people and save certain other people. Just, it messes with you. It can really ruin your mental health, and you should really be grateful for the people who make that sacrifice. And yeah, I mean, there are a lot of movies that have a message of, support the troops and such, but this is one where I really feel like, I mean, it's not saying, support the troops because the government wants you to. It's like, support the troops because they do need, maybe that's why the loonies are on the loony bus about to be shot, as per Thomas Jane's theory. The VA is, underfunded. Now, let's see. I was very surprised when the Ultimate Predator was suddenly communicating with them and saying, I want the one you call McKenna, and because so far every time the Predator. Every time the Predator's in an area, he makes it known by killing everyone. But here, the Ultimate Predator wasn't really interested in that, and so yeah, he's like, I've been watching you. I already made this point. Sorry. And I like the thing about, I think Casey's the one who says, no, he said McKenna. He didn't say Quinn. He was after your son because he's the next step in the evolutionary chain. I like the... So, part 2. I have no idea how much I lost because this thing doesn't even tell me when it closes, much less why. And to be fair, it doesn't happen that often, but yeah. I'm just gonna proceed from the last part. Let's see. I was at the... Let's see. Yeah, force field. So Nebraska's on the outside of it, whilst Quinn is on the inside, and both of them are able to help because of where they are. I thought this movie really got me into it, got me excited. It's not just looking at cool effects and such. And I like the part where the Predator bypassed voice recognition. And I like the force field cuts off one of the Ultimate Predator's arms. And the Predator dog helps yet again, and they blow up the Ultimate Predator, and that's how they win. And what on earth did I write? Is this even English? I don't know what that means. Now, and that was all of the notes. So, let's see, let me just real quick. There we go. So, moving on. Notes taken before watching. Okay. Now, I have played all 3 Alien vs. Predator games more than once. I've only played Aliens Colonial Marines once, and I haven't played Alien Isolation at all. It just seems like a game that really frustrates me, which sucks because I like the concept. Other than, I've seen people point out, the alien is not scary when you just see it walking. It's scary when you don't see it, or when you only just briefly see it before it can kill you or the like. But now, I haven't played any of these games recently due to the tennis elbow. I've watched every movie about aliens and predators more than once, although I only very recently, yesterday, rewatched Alien Covenant. Just like with Justice League, even just watching it a second time, it had no effect on me. This is almost never the case when I rewatch a movie, even if I didn't like it that much the first time. Not to talk about something that, to talk about movies that I loved watching from the first time and onwards. I must have watched the first 2 Avengers movies at least half a dozen times now. So, it has at this point become quite clear to me that it's simply going to start, it's going to keep cutting out every so often. So, I'm going to see if I can get through the rest of the 12 pages. I still have 10 pages left Okay, this is not going to be pretty, and none of us are going to enjoy it. So, as I was saying, the Alien Covenant commentary track was not Ridley Scott profusely apologizing throughout 2 hours. It should be equivalent to how much of the Batman and Robin commentary track is spent apologizing with the movie by director Joel Schumacher. With that said, as with every single other Ridley Scott commentary track that I've listened to, it is genuinely interesting. He has a lot to say about the movie, as long as he isn't talking about how human beings were definitely created by another race rather than a product of evolution. Also, on this one, he does keep calling David an AI instead of an android. I mean, sure, he's an AI too, but AI could exist without the android body. If you say android, people assume he has an AI rather than a human brain. I mean, dude must know what AI and android mean, right? There are several androids in this movie and at least a few AIs. There's an AI in Alien Covenant, anyway. So the series titling goes Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and now The Predator. What are they going to call movies coming after this one? The Predator 2, The Predators, The Predator 3 Tokyo Drift, 5 Predators, The Predator Killer. That is the way they title Machete. Does that mean that the third one will be The Predator Killer in Space? And before going to watch this or rewatch the 3 solo Predator movies, AVP Requiem, what can I say? I find it easier to rewatch than the first AVP movie, and both of the Shane Black movies that I owe, meaning Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Iron Man 3. I also recently rewatched Aliens because that movie is amazing. Any excuse to get to watch early James Cameron. And, I also figured there could be some things in these 2 movies that are somewhat similar to each other. I also listened through the commentary track for Aliens for the umpteenth time, which I also take any excuse to do again. Now having rewatched Predators, I have to admit it's not quite as bad as I thought it was the first time. Now, I was wondering how Shane Black would show that it's Christmas. Apparently, this might be the first time he's made a movie that isn't set at Christmas. It's set at Halloween. We see decorations in the trailers. Was it maybe in the midnight screens they pointed out, maybe they would skip ahead a couple of months just so that the ending would be in Christmas, so that there would be some, but yeah. Obviously it had to be Halloween so that they could have Rory trick-or-treating in The Mask. Now, movies like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Iron Man 3 have so many satirical points about the material that it almost reached self-parody, but not quite, and we can still take things seriously. And I was wondering if this pushed it just a little bit too far. For some people, evidently. Personally, I was always, scared of what the Predator could do. Afraid that any minute now, one of the characters I really love, I love every single one of the loonies. I want more movies with them. Every single one of them, yeah. Every time one of them was in danger, I was, I really wanted them to survive. I think Film Brain said that, every of the loony characters is the wild card, and you can't have that many characters that are just the wild card. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I see what he means, but I think it's maybe almost the point that you don't know that let's take this many characters and make them all wild cards. Now, I was wondering if the movie would have at least one pair of 2 fun, memorable villain goons who interact with the heroes who are captured by them. Realizing that if not, I think it might be the first action film he's written that does not, but I haven't watched all of them. I mean, there's a little bit of banter with some of the guys who capture the loonies and such, and yeah, but on the whole, not really, although Traeger does have some, but he is more of a main antagonist than, yeah. The trailers gave away the Ultimate Predator way too soon, too long before the movie came out. I mean, it's obviously going to do, something, but don't show them so soon. Maybe keep them entirely out of trailers, maybe do a single silhouette shot or something like that. Honestly, yeah, if what we had gotten in one of the trailers was, Quinn being strangled and held up against the wall, and then we see an arm go through the window, grab the Predator, yank it out, and then cut. You don't see anything more in that trailer of the ultimate, because then we're like, what was that? But instead it's like, oh, I guess there's going to be a giant predator in this movie, when this is the kind of thing you want to keep hidden. It's not like it shows up right away. We don't see the ultimate predator until maybe halfway through the movie. Now, after Alien vs. Predator Requiem and Predators, I'm not going to get excited just because there's a new Predator creature for the Predator to fight. But, even after having watched that trailer that gave it away, I noted, I do love Shane Black and I'm looking forward to the movie. Now, some notes on the final trailer, released the 31st of August. See, if this was the first time we were seeing The Ultimate Predator, I would be closer to be okay with it. And I really, really love the movie, acknowledging that what the Predator does in these movies is more like a big game hunter, sports hunter, than a predator, but that's named Predator because that sounds cooler. Not surprised that Shane Black put in a line like that. I was a little surprised that was apparently like Olivia Munn talking to her sister, who's like a scientist or something. And that was where that came. I mean, I've heard people say that for 30 years now, Well, I mean, I personally haven't, because I wasn't old enough to understand those words 30 years ago, but people have been saying it for 30 years, and I've heard it for maybe 20. I love that joke, but I think it's funnier before he asks the others to chime in and then says, fuck yeah. I love all the jokes in these trailers, and I decided I was going to give the Predator hunting dogs a second chance. I like them a lot more in this. I do wish it didn't give away that, one guy with the cap on his head is death. I mean, usually when you get 3 laser dots on the Predator's trigger on you, it means you're about to die. And yeah, that is exactly how he dies in the movie. That's, right after that shot, he gets killed. And that's, yeah. Now, going by the IMDb credits, it looks like Jake Busey's Keys will be the son of Gary Busey's Keys' second movie. I like that. First in the series to be set in, or near the suburbs. And I think it used that fine. I mean, it could have had more, but yeah. Now, let's see. It has some element of all 3 preceding films in the main series. There's the jungle scene, which is the setting of the first, Keith's family member from the second movie, and the dogs from the third movie. And from Alien vs. Predator 1, got the wide fan blade, which was like the one thing that came out of AVP 1 that was good. And there's the one actress from Requiem, the one that played Miss Yutani, but she's in a different role now, thankfully. I mean, she played that role fine, but I really don't think... I don't think there's much good that's come from making movies set before Alien that are trying to set up the overall thing. I don't think any of those movies have really done the franchise very many favors. Yeah. And based on the trailers, looks like there's a lot of action between humans and predators. The first 2 movies don't have an awful lot of that, probably because the first is really about them being hunted. That means not being able to fight back for the prey. It was also the first time we saw the predator, so they didn't want to overexpose him. Also, and for movies 1 and 2, because they couldn't make the predator look that good if you saw all of him. And certainly his weapons and the effect they have on people couldn't be done convincingly in live action outside of close-ups and relatively static shots and such. But they can today. That is something when, I recently, like I said, rewatched the first, in the first 2, those are still great movies. But, the second one isn't as good, but it's a ton of fun. You can kind of see when a shot is like, okay, so this is a part where the predator needs to be partially visible, partially invisible, because the camera isn't moving. It's literally just standing stock still. Because back then they couldn't do, today you do it with, what's it called, motion control? Yeah, I think you know what I mean. But yeah, they can today, and it also looks like it has a good balance between humans with training and weapons that would look cool in the movie that could kill the Predator, rather than having weapons that would make the fight last very little time. In Predator 2, Keyes and his team had just gone for killing, and yeah, now having watched the movie, I think that was accurate, yes. In Predator 2, Keyes and his team had just gone in for killing the Predator, maybe even rigging the entire building with a ton of explosives. They would probably have been able to kill him with ease, unless, I guess there's a chance he would have discovered that. But anyway, the only reason the Predator in the first movie survives the sequence where all the characters fire their guns in its direction is that it runs off invisible at the start and they're shooting absolutely nothing. If it was visible or they could otherwise see it, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Or if they could otherwise see it, they would easily have killed it. These two sequences can be kind of frustrating because of this, and that's the thing. I rewatched my reviews of the first three, and yes, I know that I call the second one a bad movie, and that I also call, Under Suspicion a decent at best movie in that. So, I've changed my view on these two films. Is it because it's got high CPU usage? Because it did that before, and it's never cramped down on me until very recently. But I also haven't been using it this way very long. Let's see, the first, the second, and the third. In the first one, I almost feel like I don't think I mentioned this in my video for the first one. I may not have thought of it until after recording that video, but did they decide later that they were going to show the Predator going invisible and then running out of shot? Because it almost feels like the rest of the sequence is cut as if we don't know that the Predator is no longer there. And then later they were like, people are not going to buy that they could shoot that much of the Predator, and it still just, so we got to show that it. But then they should have cut. They shouldn't have shown them shooting for so long. It's just it's silly. It's not that. It's especially on repeat viewings. Yeah. Now the characters make smart decisions, like in the first three movies. And it doesn't necessarily work out because they're not evenly matched with the Predators, which makes these movies much less frustrating than ones where they do make stupid decisions. In movies 2 and 3, they do sometimes argue, which gets annoying, especially due to the audience knowing that one particular strategy would make more sense because we've seen other movies in this series and in general. And like the first and third movie, we have a squad of trained killers all armed against one or more Predators. Let's see. The first movie is the only movie featuring Predators to have only one, ever appear on screen. Technically, there are more because it was, dropped by that pod. So it's not as though the movie says there's only that one Predator. Anyway, technically there's, let's see. And I was wondering if any character would say to the Predator, "You are one ugly motherfucker." Instead, Casey says, "You are one beautiful motherfucker." And yeah, again, they had to change it at least a little. It would have been to, let me think. It's in the first one, Arnie specifically says, "You are one ugly motherfucker." And in the second one, he starts to say, "You are one ugly mother," and then it finishes "motherfucker." I think in the third one of the characters says, "That is one ugly motherfucker," something like that. Now, I was wondering if humans would team up with at least one Predator at any point, which happens in version 1, Predators. In both cases, it was a bad idea. Does not happen here. I'm really glad. I was wondering if there's going to be a lot of new Predator tech and traits. Really, mostly it's the lore, and then you've got the let's see. You see new stuff that the mask can do, but let's see. And they specified that turning invisible is that little ball thing, and let's see. They have that thing where they like have a thing on the arm that can like shoot out, and yeah, it actually. I have to wonder if like these are the predators from the game, from the third Alien vs Predator game, aren't they? Because you've got the like spear kind of thing. And they don't have the disc, but they do use the other, the shuriken thing. And yeah, it's still weird to me that game has so few predator weapons when the second one has so many. I can respect that for multiplayer they wanted to make it more even, and they also didn't want you to constantly be swapping back and forth. If you don't have very many weapons, you don't have to spend forever scrolling, switching back and forth. But at least in single player, have more of them. It just seems strange to me to have so. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. In Predators, the heat vision looks too cool. It doesn't have the rough edges to it that it in the first two movies and in the games. And I was wondering if that was fixed here, because that really is. In Predators, it just looks fake. It looks too neat, and that's there are problems with the visual effects in Predators, but yeah, I'd say that here it had that quality of it felt real. Now, I quite like the honesty of the loony bus. We haven't seen it in any of the movies, but very likely, if when Dutch returned home, he told anyone what he saw, which, if you consider canon, Predators, the movie says that he did, yeah, they would declare him insane. And if someone like Keyes got a chance, he would probably either lock him away or have him killed. Possibly hire him, but yeah. Now, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Iron Man 3, those two movies show that Shane Black is great at subverting expectations without losing the effect of the shock or the action scene or such, and that is also true here. Now, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang has narration throughout the entire movie. Iron Man 3 has narration at the very start and the very end. I was wondering if this would have any, since, as I noted before, I don't think it would really fit with the kind of movie that this is. And no, there really isn't. There's exposition, but there isn't narration. And there's no voiceover at all. Now, in Iron Man 3, we get incredibly varied action scenes. No two action scenes in the movie are quite the same, nor are they the same as any other Iron Man action scene seen in the other movies. There are also very frequent action scenes, even if the first one does happen about half an hour in. I really don't think that the stuff that's before that, it's too brief and not being, to really be action. But yeah, when that does happen, from then on out, it's incredible how frequent the action scenes are without the movie feeling like it's rushing. And I was wondering if this would manage something similar. Now, let's see. It's a little harder coming right out of it, but yeah, I mean, there's the plot moves very nicely in this. There are a lot of action scenes, and yeah, I think they did a pretty good job of having enough differences. I mean, yeah, the climax where you have them, on the outside of the ship, and on the what's it called, force field, under the force field, and and running through the woods. It's distinct from the first movie, and yet feels it's clearly because it's so good there. Let's see. Is that the thing? I mean, now that I think about it, crap, what did I have it on? I know that it was set to something else. Yeah, that might be it. I changed some of the lighting stuff since last weekend. And last weekend it did not have problems with cutting out. So maybe that was it. Maybe, yeah, hopefully this will help. And I'm still recording. So, seems to, yeah, there's a slight delay, I think. Anyway, the thing with the yeah, let's see. We've got the predator in the back of the car killing them really quickly, and you've got it running through the lab and killing a bunch. These scenes don't feel like other Predator movie action scenes. And let's see. Yeah, just in general, I feel it's not on the level of Iron Man 3, but yeah. Let's see. For the problems with the second and third Predator movies, all three movies have, satisfying and fun climax scenes, and so does this. Excuse me. One of the problems with Predators, the movie, is that it spends a long time setting up the Predators, even though the audience already knows about them. Yeah, I mean, I do see where the numbers, the percentages are really pushing it. I'm not sure what else I can do, because this thing is already set to... Would that fix things? I guess there's a chance that would fix things. Let's see. Yeah, I guess it looks a little better, at least. Now, I'm not sure if that helped or hurt, but I guess for now I will try to I'll hope that it's still going. Yeah, so yes, I spent a long time setting up the Predators even though the audience already know about them. It doesn't spend very long on the Predator dogs, but it does also spend time setting up that other alien species that was in the cage, and then we barely see it for the rest of the movie. For all the problems with Predator 2 and vs. Predator 1 and 2, and then 3 and Alien Resurrections, those movies did not pretend that the audience didn't already know the alien creatures that we were going to see. Some of them built to the new creatures that we saw for the first time in those movies. Aliens, the movie has, build up, but it is a very different situation from the first Alien movie. Yeah, let me just real quick. I put a bunch of stuff in a parenthesis there. Let me just... Is it still... Man, it really is pushing. Okay, so briefly, let's see. Yeah, the parenthesis. We don't see an adult xenomorph until it's shrunk into the film. We do see a chest burster very on the special edition, an egg and a face hugger, but we don't actually see an adult xenomorph at all until they're in the center of the fusion-powered atmosphere processing station. We see signs of it about a third into the movie, and before we see the xenomorph and see it move, it's 1 hour into a 2.5 hour movie. So that's, yeah. And let's see. We see early indications of the situation that they have to deal with in the movie, having affected more people. And then when we do see the aliens, keep in mind we only see the alien queen very close to the end of the movie, it does go similarly to the first Alien movie. The people we see in this situation are faced with a deadly problem, that they can't at all address, but it has an impact because it's not the same situation as in the first. It's still really pushing it. I need to find some way to get it. Yeah. Let's see. For now, I think I'm going to leave it like that, and hopefully it'll stick it out. Now, these are trained soldiers with a lot of firepower. Because of the tracking, they actually thought that they would find the humans in a situation that they could rescue them from, when instead it appears that they've all been face-hugged. And even though a single alien... I think I probably will say this when I do the video on that as well, but just briefly... the xenomorphs don't attack the human beings, the Marines, at all before one of the, I forget exactly who it is, but yeah, someone shoots, I guess the chest burster, I'm sorry, I can't believe I've already forgotten. Yeah, I think the chest burster, they put a pistol and shoot the chest burster. Then the xenomorphs start attacking. Because that was it. That is like some animals. You can get very close to them, but if they don't perceive you as aggressive, they're gonna let you pass. Because what do the xenomorphs care if the Marines walk all the way in, trample around everywhere, and then walk back out? Why would they care? But the moment one of the Marines kills an alien being, yeah, then it's a matter of, but anyway. And even though a single alien managed to kill half a dozen people in a short space of time, they weren't at all prepared for a killer alien. They didn't have good weapons, and they keep being surprised by the alien changing size, appearance, and ending up incredibly strong when it only started out as a small snake. When, yeah, in the second movie, Ripley, they all have the file about the details. Let's see. And we don't know before we see it that the aliens work together. We'd only seen one before this point. If they were just randomly attacking the Marines might have had more of a chance. And they also did not expect the aliens to be so good at hiding in plain sight, which they're especially good at in their hive, which is near the source of heat, of course. But yeah, if the in the first movie it behaves somewhat differently from in the second movie, and it is this thing of the first one isn't very old, and in the second one they have a hive, a queen, and a lot of eggs nearby. From the moment that the chest burster gets out, the eggs are unreachable for the alien. So yeah, its behavior, although director's cut, it can do the egg thing itself. Anyway, now from the trailers, it looks like there will be both some Predator 2 action, where it's basically all serial killer killing every human he comes across who has a gun, and some Predator 1 action and Predator 3 action, where the Predator's carefully hunting people. And yes, I would definitely say that is the case. Now, will we get a lot of Predator and human action, Predator on Ultimate Predator action? That's probably what would be best. I was surprised that there was that little Predator on Ultimate Predator action. In the trailer, you see him grab him and then slam him into the car. We don't get that much more than that in the movie. After he does that, he punches him or kicks him or something, but that's it. Now, and suspense scenes, I think the suspense is quite strong throughout. And there maybe be some good stuff there. I just hope they don't spend forever pretending that the audience doesn't already know what these creatures are like. And that's something, I think that was such a smart decision. The main character, who spends the rest of the movie dealing with predators, immediately encounters a predator. He sees the ship crash, he sees the tech and uses some of it, albeit at first accidentally, and he downs a single predator. So he knows a lot of what we know about the predators now. And then, you have Traeger, or whatever he's called, the scientist guy, who's got all this information that, according to, like, if you look at the stuff, clearly he's got some stuff from some of the other movies, and he knows everything about it. And these are the people who are going to be who are going to be dealing with the predator. So the audience isn't just sitting there waiting for them to finally get there. Now, I get the sense the first movie will be homaged in the first 20-30 minutes. We'll get one action scene. Soldiers fight the predator in the jungle. After that point, we'll get the rest of the story. I hope that the movie doesn't spend too long in the jungle, since it has a new setting to give us. I'm not saying it was a bad idea for predators, the movie to spend its entirety in the jungle. The focus is different than in the first movie. In the first movie, first they think that they're there to rescue someone, then they realize they were sent to kill the predator. And at that point, they decide they're going to do that so they can't kill anyone else. And Predators, they focus on trying to leave the jungle, where in the first movie, they specifically have Dutch intentionally stay while Anna gets to the chopper. And in Predators, there are more living intelligent threats to the group than the Predator, but part of this movie set in the suburbs, the first time in the franchise, so I hope a lot of it is set there. Now, that brings us to IMDb and Wikipedia. Oh, and critics sites. I didn't update this file, but yeah. Now, let's see. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into everything here that, I recommend you read Wikipedia and IMDb. Let's see. Now, apparently, Schwarzenegger, could have had a cameo, but he didn't, he thought it was too short of a role. Now, according to IMDb trivia, it was apparently basically just he gets out of a helicopter, and, he's looking really worn, and he's, he says something about, how, and he's going to work with Quinn to stop Predator or something like that. I completely understand why he thought that was too little. I guess maybe the idea would be to give him a bigger role in the next one, but I mean, you don't need to have. Couldn't they just have had like someone indicate there's someone here who would like to talk to you? I think you both have something to say to each other that's of interest, and like you just see silhouette of Arnie with the cigar there, and then but I guess it's better to not, because then if he didn't want to be in the next one, then yeah. Let's see. And there isn't, let's see, is there a character in the movie that really should have been Dutch? Keys in Predator 2 is, I mean, not really, no. There's no character who feels like that should definitely have been Dutch instead. They definitely couldn't. Boyd Holbrook couldn't have been Dutch. Let's see. It wouldn't have made sense to cast Arnie in that role. Now, this doesn't really have a human character who's incredibly muscled like Arnie was in the first, but neither did Predator 2 or Predators. And in the original movie, it has other muscle-bound freaks than Arnie. Now, some people have said that the reshoots and studio interference had a really negative effect. I'm not sure that I noticed that much. That, I don't know. I enjoyed the movie from start to finish and didn't really have many big problems with it. Now, originally this was supposed to be a remake, but Shane Black said he didn't want to start over. Why start over when you have all this rich mythology yet to mine? I like the idea of expanding and exploring the existing Predator mythology rather than hitting the restart button. And yeah, I mean, I guess what he means by that, the original, the Predator mythology is already there, is the thing how they're going to all these different planets and killing hunting predators and such. And yeah, I mean, that was basically all that there was, wasn't there? And yeah, in this, the expanding on it is that it's for DNA, not actual trophies. And that is one problem that the movies have had right from the first of the sequels. They expand on the mythology, and not everyone watching likes these new elements of the mythology. Now, let's see. I really love Jacob Tremblay's acting. I'd like to see him in other stuff. Let's see. Yeah, Jacob Tremblay as Rory McKenna, Quinn and Emily's troubled son, who has a form of autism and is bullied in school, but becomes a key player in the fight against the Predators due to his preternatural ability to learn languages. This is pretty much the first time that we've seen an actual child character in a Predator movie. In Predator 2, we briefly see a kid and get the sense that maybe the Predator would attack him, because he thinks that the gun is, he maybe doesn't realize that it's, a toy gun, but anyway. Do they have toy guns? Do Predators have toy guns? I mean, it doesn't make that much sense for them to give a proper gun to a child Predator. I did not listen to how that sounded before I apologize. I'm just going to move on. But yeah, we get the sense maybe the Predator would attack that kid, but then the kid leaves the movie permanently. Alien vs. Predator 2 shows us a kid being killed because it's classy like that. And something I kept forgetting to note for this, that movie also has a discount Newt as the now actual daughter of the discount Ripley, but the reason they're in the movie is that it's a spin-off of the Alien franchise, as well as Predator. Other than that, we've only seen Predators with adults. I hope that Rory would be a big character here, which he is. I'm very happy with that. In Aliens movie, Newt is able to help out. Among other things, she's the one who guides them through the air ducts. A big part of why is that Ripley nurtures her. The Marines, especially first, even Hicks, don't treat her like the traumatized child that she is. They're just frustrated that she's being difficult. Which is, it's her behavior makes sense from considering what she's gone through. Anyway, Hicks doesn't try to talk her into coming out. He tries to grab her and pull her out. And I do love James Cameron always making sure that, some female character bites Michael Bihn's character, in the hand. Technically that doesn't happen in Terminator 2, but he only appears very briefly in that. And it's the same character who was bitten in the first one. Now, yes, Gorman tries to debrief her almost as if she is in the military, or at least a civilian who hasn't been traumatized. But Ripley treats her almost as if she were her own child. And I'll admit that, the fact that originally, like in the special edition, I think it's called, not extended, apparently she lost her own child, and it's like, so it's one of those Hollywood things where, well, you lost one child, but here's another one. That is really, really gross. And yeah, but anyway, this makes Newt comfortable enough that she can help them instead of just sitting silently, catatonically, and it makes her trust them and want to help them. When I do more videos on the Alien quadrilogy, I intend to get more into that. Anyway, I was hoping that there would be someone in this movie to do something similar to what Ripley does there in this, and figured it would be one of the female characters, maybe you know, the actual mother character, Yvonne Strahovski, or as the voice typing got at first, Monster House-Key. Maybe Olivia Munn. Yeah, neither of them really do, but a lot of characters do talk, they realize that he's incredibly gifted. You know, they're not just dragging him along by the arm and shouting at him or something. You know, I quite like the thing with, we haven't been able to get in there. I bet you can't do it. And he's like, yeah, nice reverse psychology. I can do that too. Don't fuck yourself, or fuck off, something like that. Don't go fuck yourself. I forget. Let's see. Now, based on Iron Man 3, I would say that Shane Black, like James Cameron, sees children as people who can contribute rather than just the negative. At this point, the voice typing got it as negative. Oh, like the blood type. Anyway, the negative stereotype, and well, certainly Tony at first doesn't have much patience for Harley. That's his character's name. I had to look it up because I knew that it would correspond to the actor Ty Simpkins, but is that name said at any point in the movie? Anyway, Tony does realize that Harley can help, provided Tony doesn't ask him to do something that he won't be able to do. Tony could have chosen to leave the garage and try to hide somewhere else or something, and Harley helps out a ton. He literally saves the hero's life by throwing a snowball accurately in the right time, which is, yeah, I really, really love that. This is the hero known as the Invincible Iron Man, who spent the first 2 movies not facing all that much danger, or at most only in very specific situations. If not for Harley's guy in the chair efforts, Tony would not have been able to save anywhere near as many people as he did, although he might have eventually gotten into the bad guy without, gotten to the bad guy without Harley's help. He's listed as being in Avengers 4 as Harley. Again, pretty sure Hawkeye and Ant-Man, were listed as being in Avengers 3, and it will most likely be a very small role, but cool. I really enjoy his character. He's very, very memorable. Don't worry, asshole. You get another chance. It took almost 30 years, and it would, it would have to be another generation of Keys. Although I guess technically, that movie was set in '97, so it's more like 20 years. But it would have to be another generation of Keys. But yeah, another chance. And yes, I realize he didn't say that to Keys. He said it to the only guy working for Keys that we're supposed to recognize. Now, and like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, Keys Sr. and his people wanted to study the alien rather than focusing on making sure they can kill the alien. And yeah, now having watched this entire one, yeah, the scientists in this are as naive. They don't tranquilize the predator anywhere near enough. I mean, really, they should probably just have killed it, what's it called? Vivisection. The vivisection where the patient's already dead. Dissection. I hear it's fun for frogs. There's a yeah, but then the movie would be considerably different, of course. But yeah, they did not take anywhere near enough precautions for it. But there's some studying them to make sure that if necessary they can kill them, and the next time predators come around. And I was wondering if the scientists were the ones who made the ultimate predator, if the predator spliced it together, or whether a natural species of predator, or as the voice time got at first, is it a natural spice of pressure? And yeah, ultimately it's the predators using DNA from, let's see, yeah. Now, the trailers don't really show the Ultimate Predators having much technology. Do they really call it the Ultimate Predator just because it's bigger? Which I guess, yeah, kind of. It's just that it's just genetically different, right? I mean, other than that, it doesn't seem to especially have anything that the regular Predator didn't. So the movie Predators had super predators, which were supposed to be bigger than regular predators, but it wasn't that noticeable. Now the Predator has the ultimate predator. I guess the next one is Predator Prime, Predator Big, McLarge, Huge. And yeah, I'm not going to go into the details here. It's almost just too frustrating. But yeah, there was a... I'm just briefly... There's a guy who did like one scene or something on this movie who in 2010 he had tried to lure a 14-year-old girl into a sexual relationship online, and it actually took pressure for before he got fired. It wasn't just anyway, yet another reminder that even with the Me Too movement active, we still have a lot of way to go when it comes to dealing with sexual harassment, rape involving celebrities. It's barely slowing down the Republicans pushing through the vote on Brett Kavanaugh. Now, let's see. A Batman comic has just shown us his dick for the first time, and Colbert points out that it leans to the right. A lot of the time, Bruce Wayne leans to the right, so I see no reason why Bruce's ween shouldn't as well. And speaking of leaning to the right, dicks, and literacy, the Texas Board of Education has removed, among others, Hillary Clinton's name from textbooks. At this point, I shouldn't be surprised. I've seen before just how petty Republicans are. You won. Your candidate won the presidency because of the ridiculously outdated electoral college, not the popular vote, but you successfully prevented a woman from becoming president. I'm not trying to claim that she was a good candidate, but compared to Donald Trump, it's absurd to vote for Donald Trump. I think if it was Trump v. Kang, yes, then it's Trump. But in any other situation, the voting for Trump for anything other than, most disgusting piece of shit ever to, or as, but for fucking president, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, yes, I am saying that the majority of the Republicans who voted against Hillary, not for Trump, did so because she's a woman. Your utter buffoon of a candidate won, because the Republican Party only produces presidential candidates who are wildly unqualified, some level of criminal, people who have no contact with reality, or, as for Donald Trump and others, all three at the same time. And let's see. Now, some people are saying this is too offensive and the like, and certainly there's a lot in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Boy Scout, and others that he's written and or directed that is offensive. I'm not sure why I didn't put Iron Man 3 on that list. Anyway, some say that this one is immature in that, jokes that only teenage boys would find funny. I laughed at most of the jokes. I do see what they mean, and I do realize that, at this point, still doing, these are the kind of jokes and such that you would get in like the 80s and the 90s. They probably wouldn't be in this movie if not for the fact that it's an homage to those. And I recently read a review of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that pointed out that the gay jokes in that movie are one of the most unfortunate aspects, and they also feel about 15 years out of date. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, did Shane Black maybe not completely, like, he kind of disappeared in the late 90s and then came back in, 2005 or so. Or, not exactly 2005, that's when the movie came out, but I mean, has he maybe not really kept up with where, like, progress? I mean, on the other hand, then you have this, in this, there's this real message of, like, having the kid with autism be, that's what the predator wants. Not the president. He doesn't care if a child has autism or not. He only cares if the child is Mexican. I mean, I think that this is a movie that is going to give a boost of confidence to many young Aspergers. And yeah, I honestly think just for that alone, I don't understand how you can give that a completely bottom rating. But yeah, I was incredibly entertained. I really, really want to watch this movie again. And I don't know, I can imagine that there aren't going to be sequels, but if they make them, I will watch them. If you build them, I will come. And I also really, I already mentioned how, it appreciates military men, and I acknowledge that it does also mock them and use them for jokes, but yeah, that covers that. I don't think there's any, like, last minute little thing for me to say, but yeah, when last I checked, this had a 34% on the tomato meter with an average rating of 5 out of 10, which I guess if right now, if I had to say, I guess maybe I think it should be more like 70 with an average rating of 7 out of 10, but a lot of critics are hard to satisfy, especially when it comes to movies that, this is not a movie that's trying to blow your mind or anything. And I'm not saying that that's some kind of, like, excuse. It's, it still has to be a good movie, but yeah, critics tend to prefer the movies that are really smart. And yeah, but let's see. I mean, if you had told me, if when Predators came out, if you had told me that I would be excited about another Predator movie, I would probably not have believed you, But then, let's see. Then, yeah, Iron Man 3 came out. I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And, and it was announced that Shane Black was doing Predator. And yeah, I got excited and he delivered. I was very happy with this movie. I'm not saying that it's perfect. There are definitely things about the movie that could have been better, but they're not things that I don't need them to be better than they are for me to really love the movie. And I'm going to consider that let's see. Yes. So, like I said, I really, really enjoyed the movie, close to loving it. And I hope you enjoyed watching as I enjoyed recording, and I will catch you next time.